ROI. This may not be the term that is bandied about inside your organization. It's certainly not a term that is bandied about in the industry, but it's actually the one that you want to use. So let me explain. What is in it for you to measure this? This actually begins to position you not as the company's next CMO, it may position you as the company's next CEO. Because guess what? The CFO is not the top of the food chain. And the CFO has generally been asking for the wrong thing for years. This is the right thing to demonstrate. This is the calculation you want to do. This puts you in a powerful position. First of all, you shift the conversation. You basically put yourself in a position of convincing, generally it's the CFO, that you understand finance as well as he or she does. And, most CFOs aren't expecting that from somebody in marketing. They tend to look down on us. We're merely the expense, that they have to deduct somewhere along the way in their financial calculations. Okay, fine. But here's the deal. ROI is the wrong metric. The CFO may ask for it because the CFO is used to asking for it for other kinds of things, like capital expenditures. If you're going to do a capital expenditure, like building a new factory or a plant, or you're going to stock a lot of inventory someplace, that's a capital expenditure, or what is known as CapEx. And trust me, if you are a publicly traded company, some investor out there, some industry analyst is going to want to know about your CapEx. It's something you're going to have to report on a quarterly basis. So trust me, the CFO is focused on it. But that kind of money is tied up. When you make that kind of investment, it's generally a long-term one, and you may depreciate it, but you know what? That's why everyone's sort of focused on it. It turns out marketing is not a capital expenditure. Marketing is an expense. You generally expense it over the course of a quarter. We spent some money this month on, who knows, advertising, content marketing, you fill in the blank. And if it is an operational expenditure, then it is called OpEx. And if you want to measure the impact of what you're doing in marketing, you end up using a very different formula than your CFO has been asking for years. But here's the deal. When you look across the table and say, actually, you're asking for the wrong thing, what you really want is ROMI, not ROI. And yeah, I do know how to calculate that. A return on marketing investment is basically the incremental revenue that you can attribute to your marketing. So, we've been measuring goals or micro goals, and you can measure those in revenue because what the lead is that you brought in and what it's worth, and what the sales you brought in and what they're worth, or you certainly know what percentage of those leads tend to convert to sales, and therefore you got a figure that what your sales pipeline may be valued at. Guess what? You can calculate that. And then here's the magic. You go beyond revenue. A lot of people would stop there and say, wow, that's an impressive thing. I've never reported revenue before. Aren't I a hero now? But if you take the next step and you say, and also I know what our contribution margin is. A lot of people will call that your profit margin. In other words, when you raise revenue, there's still a cost of goods sold. It takes some money to manufacture your product, or it takes some money, that for the people you have to pay to deliver your service. And when you're all done paying, the cost of goods sold, what's left is your profit. And that is a percentage of your revenue. And if you multiply the revenue that you brought in times the profit margin, so some percentage of that is going to turn into profit, and then you subtract what you spent on your content marketing campaign and divide by what you spent on your content marketing campaign, you come up with a number. It's your ROMI. And let me give you an example just to sort of bring this home. Let's say, for example, that you spent $100,000 on a content marketing program, and it delivered $500,000 in incremental revenue that you have been able to track and say, didn't come in from outer space. Here's the campaign we ran. We generated this. And oh, by the way, the contribution margin for that $500,000 in revenue was, let's say, 60%. In other words, it took about 40% to cover the cost of goods sold, but the profits on top of that were 60%. Where does that number come from? It's a mythical number, but it's going to vary in different organizations. So I'm just using it here to teach you the math. But I'm going to measure my results by taking that 500,000, multiplying by 60% because I want to get to the profit number. And then I'm going to subtract the 100,000 that I spent and divide by the 100,000, and I get the number 2. And you're going to say, I've never heard this number before. And the answer is, neither has your CFO. But here's what it means. For every dollar that you spent on content marketing, you generated $2 in profit. Not revenue. You generated $5 in revenue. You generated $2 in profit. Now, do you want to do a little more content marketing next quarter? Let me tell you, anything that is a positive number is a good result. If you can get anything north of 1, you're breaking even.
Hey, want to become an expert in digital marketing? Then subscribe to the Simplilearn channel and click here to watch more such videos. To nerd up and get certified in digital marketing, click here.